What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. You may notice that I'm smiling, but internally my eyes are extremely angry. Micah ended up using a wand of smiles on me the other day, and I'm currently stuck smiling for a little bit, and hopefully at some point it's actually gonna fall off, because otherwise I'm gonna be spending an entire day end up smiling the whole time, and that's not fun for anybody. Oh wait, hold on, I think it went off. Oh perfect, it went off. Alright, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. That guy Cleric blinds entire party with his own OP homebrew spells, attracts a Tarrasque. Edit, I added the details that it's a 5e campaign for clarity, also the description of the spell disappeared, so I fixed that. So I just recently started playing in a public paid D&D 5e campaign at my LGS, local game store. Each week there are usually about 8 players plus the DM. It's a pretty rules-lax game with a greater focus on character roleplay and social interactions than tactical combat. Typically only one combat encounter per 4-hour session. There's one guy in the campaign who happened to be quite the power gamer, henceforth referred to as Cleric. Roll for stats, but the DM didn't supervise or even look over everyone's sheets as far as I can tell. This guy started the campaign with a 16, 12, 18, 11, 18, 18 for his stats. Very inhuman Twilight Domain Cleric. Okay, Twilight Domain, yeah, it's pretty powerful, but also this many high stats? Oh, DM should have checked that 100%. This is not okay. Very Inhuman is fine though, I think Very Inhuman is okay. He also tried to start out level 1 with full plate armor, both a halberd and shield equipped, but I guess the DM at least paid attention to the equipment because that was gone after the campaign started. He pretty clearly fudged his rolls or just manually set those stats because you'd have to be insanely lucky to get 3 18s and a 16, even with racial bonuses. Either that or it's a complete miracle. It's a sign by the clerical gods that your character has to be overpowered. This guy also tends to clash with the party quite a lot, often making decisions that are unhelpful at best and actively antagonistic at worst. This combined with the DM's seemingly limited rules knowledge, and it had led to some frustrating and confusing experiences. Last night was probably the worst example thus far. We're currently level 3 and we had just finished a side quest and we're trying to rest for the night. Nobody stood watch, so we ended up getting ambushed by 3 displacer beasts. Cleric's first move? He used some sort of ability that causes every creature in a 50-foot radius around him to make a DC 14 dex save or be blinded for 3 turns. Almost everyone failed the save. Oh, this smells like some homebrew bullshittery. Let's see what it is. I was quite surprised at this. I had never heard such an ability before. I just chalked it up to some weird channel divinity ability I'd never seen before, since I don't know much about cleric subclasses. Combine this with the DM not understanding how dark vision works, it claimed that we actually had low light vision and couldn't see without a light source, but it was simply nighttime outdoors. There were no magical darkness or anything that would prevent dark vision from working. He also suddenly introduced a new homebrew rule that if we gang up on a monster, we roll with advantage. Essentially giving everyone pack tactics, I guess? This resulted in chaos hour-long combat where people were constantly arguing over whether attacks were at advantage, disadvantage, or normal, with almost everyone being blinded aside from Cleric and one other player. During this combat, Cleric also attempted to claim that since a nearby displacer beast was blinded and was quietly standing still, the displacer beast shouldn't be able to find him, despite him running around in half-plate armor and moving right past it without a stealth roll just 1 turn before. Yeah, no, unless you have the feat for that. I think there's a feat for heavy armor. Maybe not. But if you have heavy armor, you make a lot of noise going cling, clang, cling, clang. That's kind of like the whole point of wearing heavy armor, is that you give up all stealth entirely because you go cling clank everywhere. If you want to wear something a little bit lighter that doesn't make you go cling clank in the night or anywhere at all, make sure you wear a different type of armor that specifically doesn't have that sort of thing. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of different armor types, honestly. A few rounds later, DM describes us hearing loud stomping coming from the woods, and the displacer beasts all start to run away in fear. It turns out to be a Tarrasque that was attracted by Cleric's suspiciously powerful ability. I'll reiterate that we are level 3 party, so seeing such a creature was questionable. Needless to say, we all ran away. We managed to escape thanks to our horse and wagon, but we all had to roll on a long-term madness table out of pure fear. The shenanigans of this session pretty much end here, and I left very confused. One short drive home later, I hop on D&D Beyond and check Cleric's character sheet again, and he suddenly has this new spell I've never seen before. It reads as follows: Infernal Light, Illusion Cantrip, Cast at Will, casting time 1 bonus action. Range or area, self or 50 feet. Components none, duration 10 rounds, Attacks and save, dexterity 14. Casting out a brightly bright light from the top of their head, any creature within 50-foot radius must make a dexterity saving throw to shield their eyes or be blinded for 3 turns. Creatures with low light and dark vision make this roll a disadvantage. Light diminishes after an initial flare, but illuminates an area of 30 feet from the caster, for a total of 10 minutes. Immediately something went off to me, so I'll go look up the cantrip, and it's not even publicly published Homebrew and D&D Beyond. It's literally just a spell this guy just created himself and added to his sheet, presumably without DM's approval. I don't know how he got away with it, but it really left a sour taste in my mouth. Of course it's a homebrew spell, and of course it has to be a bonus action spell and 50-foot radius and blinds people for 10 rounds, but apparently it's 3 rounds. You would think that somebody that will write a homebrew spell will put a little bit more extra work into writing some sort of a homebrew cheat sheet as a cantrip, mind you. This is a cantrip, not a first level spell, second level spell, or what have you, which probably would be a little more balanced if it was like a third level spell or higher, but this is a cantrip as a bonus action. Wow, what an incredible way to... This is so stupid. First of all, don't cheat. But if you are gonna cheat, at least put some effort into the craft at all. Like, I don't condone cheating in the slides, but like, this guy makes it so blatant with this whole thing. He literally just uses a spell. Nobody checks it because the DM doesn't know much about the rules, so the guy can get away with it. Nobody plays well with the guy because he constantly has clashes with the rest of the party. This guy's a problem player, and I hope you guys kick him out and bring this up, because this is not okay. This, what he's doing right here with his homebrew spell, he's probably gonna be adding a lot more, adding a bunch of other stuff and a bunch of other nonsense to it. So I really hope you bring it up to the DM and talk to him about it, because this should not fly in the slightest. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. My group is so dysfunctional, I can't even. Where do I begin? It's a party of 4, 2 rogues, a cleric, and a barbarian. Not the most optimal mix, but we made it work. But good lord, I've never seen a group of characters bicker and fight like this in all my years of playing. It started off with cleric and one of the rogues. Some stuff had happened throughout the campaign that had mildly soured the relationship, but things came to a head when there was a disagreement on how to handle a boss level enemy. The DM sat back for a while, but eventually had to manipulate things in game to get the party to move past it. Even then, things were never fully resolved, but were at least put aside so the group could continue forward. Then the other rogue died. We agreed to resurrect him, and the rogue rolled up a new character to play while we brought his main back. That went poorly. Half the group generally hated this new character over his name of all things, which led to more disagreements, bickering, and eventually outright PvP. Over a name? Was the name like really offensive, or was like a copy pasta of like another like popular like anime character or something, and somebody just didn't like that? Why over a name? Are you guys okay? It took the cleric talking to the new character to get them to stay with the group, so we could finish our dungeon dive to get the funds for resurrection. We did, and after more bickering, the new character left, and we went and resurrected the rogue. Once again, this went poorly. Upon the rogue's resurrection, the group started bickering almost immediately again, focusing around the lack of appreciation for what the party went through to resurrect him. I think it was a mixture of remaining feelings about things that went down with the previous character, but it's hard to say. And now, the group is incredibly fractured. The cleric is sort of neutral to this situation and is trying to get along with everyone. The rogue and the barbarian are actively hating the other rogue, and the other rogue is responding in kind. I'm honestly not sure what everyone's getting out of this. I'm not sure what the DM is allowing all of this to happen. Either I completely had the wrong impression of your average D&D group, or we are the worst people to ever join a campaign. Note, I'm a player in this game. I left my role vague because I wanted to avoid bias in the story and because I'm aware that we'll have varying levels of suck here. I'm not really looking forward to advice on how to handle it. I know that when or if I get too sick of it, I'm going to just leave the game. I just want to share the story and see everyone's thoughts. Well, if I had to guess, I'm assuming maybe you're like the cleric, it could be the barbarian, or you could be the rogue. Honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm assuming you're the cleric. It sounds like you guys just have problems as people, not as like player characters. It sounds like you dislike each other, have some sort of animosity against one another that really needs to talk through. You guys need to have like a sit down, a full like group sit down, including your DM, and talk your things out, talk the problems out, and figure out how you can move on past this and actually play some D&D. Because this is not playing D&D, this is just bickering at the table and arguing for stuff that ultimately doesn't really matter that much. If it's not working out, maybe it might be best just to bow out already. If you guys just not like really compatible with each other as people, if this really doesn't work and the DM is not even there, like just taking a backseat waiting for this to happen, not reining things in, I don't think it can work. Y'all gotta talk it out for real. Right, well, let's get to the next story for today. The DM crosses a line with his Snake Fetish. So I played D&D 5e with a group of friends at DM's house a couple years ago. DM is a friend I met through grad school. He works with animals at a sanctuary. Okay, the title is very concerning, knowing that your DM works with animals at a sanctuary. Is this something your DM is not telling you? The DM was pretty openly obsessed with snakes. He had snake art everywhere and would talk about snakes and snake facts endlessly. So it was no surprise that his campaign revolved around a Yuan-Ti empire. And of course, all the Yuan-Ti are hyper-sexualized. Not just the human-looking variants, I'm talking lurid description of snake lords, most of whom have tried to frick us at some point in a campaign. The issue in question that made us leave the campaign though, was during a session he randomly, without telling anyone, brought one of his snakes to the table. One with bright colors and patterns over its body. DM excitedly said, "Look who I brought to join us today." We'll give him a nervous look and he says, "Oh, relax, he's not that poisonous. Plus, he's really friendly." Not that poisonous, DM. DM, don't bring poisonous snakes, even if they're not that poisonous, to the table. People just want to roll funny math rocks, not look at your obsessions. I was willing to roll with it, but most of the rest of the party was still like, "Keep that thing away from us." Which, to the DM's credit, he did. He held the snake the whole time. At some point, DM says, "Timmy, the snake is tired, aren't you, boy?" And he puts him into his lap. As we played through the night, we, the party, were thrust into a serpentine dungeon. It was as fetishy as you can imagine, turned up to 11. And we can tell at this point that DM was getting a bit too excited about these themes, as again, an actual snake is sitting in his lap. And it gets worse as the rest of the session goes on into the night. The straw that broke the camel's back occurred when the DM decided to railroad the party into a secret room that nobody wanted to explore. We were greeted by a group of Yuan-Ti that outnumbered us 5-1, and they locked all the doors with magic and then said, "It's time for the ritual," with the ritual being us getting gangbanged. I feel both bad for the players and the poor snake, because the snake is just rubbing against DM's junk the entire time, who's probably horny as hell because of this whole thing. DMs and the weird fetishes do not mix. Do not put your weird fetishes or obsessions or anything like that into the game unless it's done tastefully and with a purpose. Don't just run fetish games. This is disgusting. This is awful. I feel terrible for Timmy. Poor Timmy needs to be a poor victim to this. And he narrates in gruesome detail the Yuan-Ti gangbang scene. None of us roll or attack matters in the slightest. And he's simultaneously talking to a snake and saying stuff like, "Good boy, keep playing right there, don't move." And then going back to describe how our characters are getting struggle snuggled by a group of snake men. And this is why I feel bad for Timmy. Poor Timmy. He's just getting rubbed against the DM. It's just ugh. Y'all should have left. Y'all should have left. And the fact that this guy still works with snakes, I don't even want to imagine the kind of things he does at work with these snakes. I don't want to know. All of us were dead silent during the scene, but we all kind of looked at each other incredulously. Finally, I just nervously made up some excuse to leave, and everyone else was quick to say, "Yeah, let's call it," for a variety of excuses. We all texted each other and agreed that we are never playing in that campaign again. We made up excuses about work schedules, dating drama, etc. to essentially get session cancelled for a month until DM asked us if we were losing interest, and we took this as an out and just told him we weren't feeling D&D anymore, which was true. After that, I knew I haven't played D&D since. It just left a really bad taste in my mouth. I mean, just typing it out, I can hardly believe it happened. I mean, who is that freaking weirdo? Yeah, your DM is a weirdo, and honestly, no D&D is better than bad D&D, and I'm sorry I went through that. You know, you would think it'd be a very simple ask not to have a weird fetish DM in your game. You know, just a simple thing. I just want to roll math rocks and go on cool adventure. And yeah, I don't mind Yuan-Ti, as long as we don't gotta deal with weird Yuan-Ti gangbang and all this fetish stuff. Like, all players want to do is just roll funny math rocks, roleplay the characters, and go on cool adventures and see cool things and get good loot and fight BBGs. That's all. Nobody wants to play in your weird snake fetish D&D game. Nobody wants that. Nobody's enjoying that except you, poor Timmy. I hope Timmy gets out safely. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.